I was gonna ask you about the pickup stuff. So you've been doing it for
Yeah.
30 years?
Yeah. Over 30 years. I wrote my first book in 1988.
And
So that you were on the last years of your previous lifetime, young lady, when I first got into this.
well, I was curious because you had some stuff about, like, conversation patterns,
Yes.
and I was wondering if you
Yes.
could, like, tell me about that, if you don't mind?
Sure. Sure. So what I teach my guys is don't have this. I want to make this distinction very clear. Don't ever lie, but don't have fact based conversations. I'll give you an example. What's the difference between asking the question, what do you like to do for fun, which every chump has asked you,
Mhm.
and this question, when you want to do something that makes you feel totally alive and get your heart beating hard and time flies by, what do you love to do? Or what's something you've always fantasized, dreamed of doing, but haven't let yourself dare? Now, those are two fundamentally different questions. One just seeks a factual answer,
Mhm.
ends the conversation. The other is designed to wake up a woman's emotions. It deals with themes of adventure, fantasizing, doing something that she doesn't ever dare to do. Do you understand how it evokes something completely different? Can you feel that and see it?
Yeah, I was thinking about the question. I'm like, I don't even know how to answer that, but it makes you think.
Yeah, it makes you think, and more importantly, given the right rapport, it makes you fantasize. Now, does it make you sexually fantasize? Not necessarily, but give this metaphor. Consider this metaphor. I've stayed in my travels in some pretty cheap hotels, motels, where the rooms are separated by just a thin wall. And if someone's partying in the room next to you, it's going to keep you up at night. Consider that part of a woman's mind that fantasizes about anything to be one room. And then in the other room is the room where she sexually fantasizes. If you can wake up that first room, chances are the noise is going to wake up the second. So that's one example. A second example is to, how can I put this? Is to tell stories in a way that evoke a woman's imagination. I'll give you a very simple one.
Mhm.
I will be out. I've used this to turn female friends into lovers. It's got 100% success rate. I shouldn't give it away, but I'm going to give it away, and it's going to offend a lot of women.
So
But
guys
hell,
guys can't escape the friend zone.
guys can escape the friend zone. They
Okay.
can. So here's how it works. I'll meet a female friend for coffee. I'm 3 for 3 on this. 100% 3 for 3. I'll meet him for coffee, and we'll just have a few laughs. And I'll say, "Hey, are you a people watcher?" Now, the answer is 100% yes. Who doesn't like to watch people? And then what I'll do is I'll use a pattern called quotes. Quotes simply means I'll talk about what I saw someone else do. The usefulness of quotes is if they don't like what I said, I can back up and say, "Hey, I didn't say it. That's just what I saw someone else do." So here's the story I tell them. I say, me too. I was in this place the other day, excuse me, and I saw a couple on a bad date. Now, the way I could tell they were on a bad date is they obviously weren't able to feel that incredible connection. You know, that click right there, those butterflies that let you know something big's going down. Instead, her body language was turned away. She was checking through her phone.
Mhm.
You see how I'm building up the story and I'm betting and talking about little things like feeling a connection
Mhm.
and feeling butterflies. So I'm building up the story and I say, but all of a sudden, things took a 180 and you won't believe what happened, Pearl. And naturally, you will say, what happened? It's creating curiosity. Now I'm drawing you even further into the conversation. I'm creating curiosity. I'll say, well, all of a sudden, he just rubs the back of her neck like this. Now, the back of the neck happens to be a very erogenous zone. Most people don't know it. He leans over and he whispers something in her ear. And all of a sudden, she's all over him. She starts macking on him. She's grinding on him. She gets up to go to the bathroom. And I walk over to the guy and say, first of all, dude, you're my hero. but you got to tell me, what did you say? And then I'm quoting the guy, mind you. So she's off her guard. She's not expecting anything, Pearl. Well, I just leaned in her ear. And as I say this to whoever I'm talking to, I'll lean in her ear. He leaned in her ear and said, can you imagine our first soft electric brush of the lips and all the things we're going to do to each other when we finally get each other alone? I mean, honestly, did he really expect her to imagine that and feel compelled to? Now,
That's funny.
yeah, it's
And
really
you're
good too.
and you're 3 for 3 on it?
I'm 3 for 3 on it. But let me break out the structure of it. The
Okay, yeah,
structure
let's
of it
hear it.
is, first of all, I'm telling a story about somebody else. So it takes away any of the suspicion, any of the nervousness. Second, I'm talking about a theme that women are fascinated about. This is a generalization, which is good and bad dates. Everyone's seen a bad date, everyone's seen a train wreck of a date. So naturally, they want to talk about it. Then I get attention by suddenly switching things up and saying how everything suddenly changed. That's going to create curiosity. Then I'm demonstrating the rub on the back of the neck. If you, somewhere on the internet, there's a YouTube video, and sincerely, I really am not trying to plug myself. If you search Ross Jeffries erotic touch,
Mhm.
you'll see me demonstrating it on a very hot young Swedish woman who I wound up sleeping with. By the way, thank you, Sweden. Sweden has been very good to me. So has Denmark. Anyway, that gets them turned on. And then when I lean over and whisper in their ear, every woman I did this to said, I could feel the hot breath on my neck. I could feel your lips brushing against my ear. I can't say without getting you banned, but one of them said my bleep was bleep. The other one said I could feel my bleep tingling. And the other one said, you are not my type, but I am so turned on right now. So this is just one of the ways. So those are two. I could give you a third if we have time. Excuse me for coughing, a little bronchitis. I was sick for 2 weeks. Is this giving you some idea of what I do?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And then for an actual pickup, here's some things I would use to teach guys to start a conversation. So I believe humor is a really great way to start a conversation with a woman, not being a clown. If a guy just keeps telling you jokes, you're going to walk away. You're going to get bored. You're going to think he's a weirdo, but using humor. Please give me the time to explain this, okay? Don't cut me off here. So I will do what I call a pre-opener. I'll just say nice shoes, or excuse me, do you mind if I reach for the milk? That's just designed to let her hear my voice and see I'm not going to harm her. And then I'll say, hey, I've got to ask, do you work for the Department of Defense? And when she says no, I'll say, because your eyes are weapons of mass distraction. Now, when she laughs, I'm not going to leave it there. I'm not going to leave it at the laugh. I'm going to say, okay, that was cheesy. But when I saw you, I thought she probably gets approached 100 times a month. See if she has a sense of humor that would make her fun to talk to for a minute. So let me explain what I'm doing there. I'm getting the laugh, but then I'm owning it. I'm admitting that it was cheesy, and then I'm giving what I call an implied compliment. Notice what I didn't say, Pearl. I didn't say you're so beautiful you get approached 100 times a month. That would be like I
Mhm,
implied the compliment. I said she probably gets approached 100 times a month. Now, is that implying that she's a war pig, or is that implying that she's hot? It's implying that
mhm.
she's hot. So whatever you can get a person to imagine for themselves will be perceived by them as being their own thought, and it won't be resisted. It will be absorbed, and once it's absorbed, it'll be acted upon. Those are just three different examples of what I teach. I've been doing this 30 years. And if it didn't work, I would have been kicked out of business by now. There would have been complaints and I would have been booted. So that's just something. Did that give you some good representative examples?
Yeah,